Hi everyone, this is Megan Hagedorn. Welcome back to another tips and tricks webinar brought to you by the Marks Group. Today we're going to be talking about Pipedrive tips, especially tips regarding security suggestions. So Pipedrive actually has this little security assessment wizard feature, and it's a little bit hidden. So I will show you where to find that. I kind of randomly stumbled upon it, so I'll show you where that is. I think it's pretty cool and can definitely provide some helpful suggestions. And it does this based on your actual organization and data. So it is enhanced in that way, I suppose. Um, the next tip we'll talk about is managing the sales assistant. So I don't generally love these sales wizards, assistants, whatever you want to call them, that all these CRMs are putting out. Sales Accelerator is the Dynamics one. I just, for the clients that I work with, generally, they're just not that helpful. But I will say Pipedrive is pretty cool, and it kind of acts more as a dashboard than anything else. It's not so much of a sales tool, so it's a helpful thing. So we'll talk about that and walk through the preference options that you have. So it's fairly customizable, so that's one of the reasons I do like it, and it's pretty self-explanatory. So I will show you guys what that looks like, and we'll walk through the options with that. And then finally, we're going to talk about new usage limits that Pipedrive has implemented fairly recently. So I'll show you where there's an area in Pipedrive where you can see your actual data against these new limits, and there's a link to an article explaining them a little bit more. So I will say that none of our clients have even come close to the limits for their respective plans. So hopefully that's the case for most organizations. And if it's not, that is a shame, and I'm sorry to hear it. So let's get started with our other Pipedrive tips. So the security suggestions. This is going to be found kind of in the back end of things here. So I'm going to click on, you can either click on your user icon and go to company settings, or you can go over here and also go to, sorry, lost my spot, like user overview. Any of these will really take you back there. So I'm just going to click back here and go to company settings. And then we're trying to get back to the security center here. So we'll click on the dashboard. And you can see kind of a little overview of who's logged in, locations, forced logouts, etc. And then over here is the security assessment. And you'll see we've got some issues of varying levels. And then we'll click on this kind of ambiguously labeled, see what you can improve. This is actually linked to a pretty smart security assessment that has specific suggestions based on your users. There are links to go to quickly to each of these items like that. So I'm going to go back to where we were. And then if you click on the little question mark, you'll get an explanation of the suggestion. We have some non-issues and some other permissions issues, it says, but I'm okay with all of this. This is a demo environment, so we're all good here. But if you have high-risk issues in an actual real organization environment, definitely take a look at those and see if you need to tweak some permissions. Like generally, we don't want users to have permissions to delete things. Sometimes things get deleted by accident, although thankfully Pipedrive does make it pretty easy to recover that. We'll have to cover that in another tip. So yeah, we've got SSO as an enabled, so there's an option to click on here and it'll take you to the single sign-on page. we can review permissions for each of these items. So if we click on here, it'll take us to the permission sets area. It's unhappy that we've got 4 admins, so that is what that's about. But yeah, I think this is a pretty neat little feature. It's tucked away pretty well. And yeah, I think it was designed in a friendly enough way to, you don't have to be a super tech admin to navigate here and to update these per the suggestions. Of course, sometimes the high risk issues are intentional. Some of these are very intentional on our part. So it doesn't always mean that you need to do something about them, but just so you know that the system recognizes this as a potential issue is a good thing. All right, so let's move on to the sales assistant. I'm going to exit out of here. We'll just go back to our main area. Now, if you click on this little light bulb, this is going to toggle the sales assistant. If it's the first time you're clicking on this, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff in here that can be cleaned up, and you'll see a link to all notifications. This is still in beta. I think I covered this in another tip a little bit ago, but yeah, you can click on this tab over here and you'll see all of your notifications. You'll basically see an extended sales assistant. This is almost exactly what this looks like when you first log into it. So, or when you first toggle the sales assistant, there are these extra tips and settings and this email tracking item. So we'll go back out, but I just wanted to show that. Oh, so if you click on this little gear icon in the corner of the sales assistant, you can just 2 things. You can pause notification alerts today. If you are getting a ton of notifications, you don't need to see them, you are in here already, you can just pause them, which is handy. And you can go to manage notifications. This is a little, I feel like that label is a little misleading. There are more than just notification settings in here. It's really just what you want to see in the sales assistant. So there are little alerts that this is the alerts pop up in the upper right corner. You can exit them out. If you need to pause them for today, it's the same as that other setting we just talked about to pause the notifications. So you can just click that. Scrolling down a little bit, here's where we get into a lot of the notifications. So there are ones for email tracking, activities. You also optionally can include this in a summary email or in a separate email for activity reminders. You can get updates on things you follow, and you can pretty granularly choose which type of record you want to be notified about for ones that you follow. There are analytics and personalized tips. I have these turned off, but this is helpful for the average user generally. So you can, I would probably suggest leaving that on if you're not an admin. Scrolling down a little bit more, you can get notified about comments, mentions. This is a good one always, because when you get mentioned, they're doing it for a reason. They want your attention. So I would leave this one enabled for sure. You can get notified when something gets assigned to you. You can get notifications from the community. I have this turned off, but I have learned some things from the community area. So don't just write it off just because it's a tech forum kind of a thing. There is useful information on here, and they also have, we'll say about the community, they do have areas where you can say, hey, I'm a real estate professional. I'm curious to hear how other real estate professionals use Pipedrive to maximize the features and that kind of thing. So people can talk to each other to gain some insight on, as to how others use Pipedrive effectively. So I think that's kind of cool. So just a note about that. And then product updates, I would leave this enabled. It's always nice to know when new features exist. You can have the additional option to show the alert. If you click the little icon, the little question mark icon, it'll show you what that looks like. And then finally down here, there is the daily email timing. So Pipedrive will send you a daily email with all of these notifications in it, just in a nice single concise email. So you're not going to get 20 emails if you get 20 notifications. So that's what that is for, and you can pick the time that it gets sent. Probably, this is totally dependent on just how you like to work. I understand if you want to get it in the morning. I understand if you want to get it in the evening or in the afternoon. So just whatever works best for you is what I would suggest here. Yeah, so there are quite a few preferences in this sales assistant area, but I do recommend taking a look and kind of going through and just real quick selecting which notifications are helpful and important to you. There's also an area to see email tracking. So if you have your email tracking set up, you'll see how many times the emails have been opened. If you have that enable option enabled, you'll see the subject, who it was sent to, and when it was last opened. So as well as the option to view all. So yeah, this is a helpful feature. You can also mark these as read directly from here. And then you can go to manage notifications from all kinds of places, and it all takes you to the same preference page. So that is the sales assistant. Finally, we're going to talk about usage. So I'm going to actually go back over here just because I know that they just sent an email about this. So we're going to see, we'll go to it from here. So, okay, to get back to this area, not from an email, you can just click on your user icon, go to company settings, and then in this company section, just go to the usage tab here, and you will see your data against the limit. So we have a limit of 100,000 open deals, 1,000 custom fields. Again, this is per company, not per tenant, I suppose you could say. So a single tenant can have multiple companies. So this is per company. You can also have, for our license, you can have up to 150 reports per user. No one even comes close to that in my experience, but I hope that's the same for everyone watching. But yeah, so hopefully these limits are good enough, at least for now. Who knows in 3 or 4 years once people have been sitting on this stuff for a little bit, but for now it seems to be okay. So we've got teams and visibility groups. These are more of security things. So yeah, this is just a really easy, quick way to see how you're doing against these new usage limits. So if we click on that link, it'll take you to a Pipedrive support or knowledge base page where you can see the limits for each plan or license type. So enterprise has unlimited everything. Professionals got the otherwise the largest limits. Advanced, a little bit less, and essential, even a little bit less. So, and there's also the option to click a link here to take you right to that page we were just on. And this is just good to have access to keep tabs on. If you start to get up to the top of these limits, maybe start thinking about switching to a higher plan or changing how you use data in Pipedrive. All right, that just about covers it. So to sum up everything we talked about today. First, we talked about the security assessment. So if we go back in the back end under the security dashboard, not labeled great, there's this link to see what you can prove. It'll pop up the security assessment, suggestions, why it suggests that, and a quick little link to resolve it if you want. The next thing we talked about was the sales assistant, which is this little light bulb icon here, and all of the settings that you have with that. Definitely suggest taking at least a quick peek at that and seeing if you can tweak that so it's actually helpful for you. That's always the goal here. And then finally, we talked about finding out your usage and looking at those new limits that Pipedrive has set for each plan. So I hope this was helpful for you. We will be back next month with some more tips. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can contact me at megan@marksgroup.net or leave a comment on any of the blogs. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.